T.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be here with you on Christmas week, and very excited for this. We're going to have a fantastic week of broadcasts here for you Monday through Thursday, and on Friday, on Christmas Eve, we're going to have a very special broadcast featuring Navy midshipman alum Tonio Gully, who's also the brother of Prince Tyson Gully, who played at Syracuse University. Tonio and I will be talking about serving in the U.S. Naval Academy, what it means to him, his story, his background, special moments of being in the Navy, as well as the Army-Navy game, and so much more. So make sure you stay tuned for that at the end of the week on our Christmas Eve special. And all the way leading up to that, fantastic guest coming up inside of the Cafe Cubal studios. We are so happy to be here with you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. A trio of fantastic guests, all connected to Central New York, starting off with Syracuse Orange wide receiver alum Corey Cooper, who came to Syracuse, played at Syracuse, and is now an offensive recruiting analyst for the North Carolina Tar Heels. Then coming up in just a little bit, Andre Fontenette, another Syracuse wide receiver alum, who is currently assistant coaching at McQuaid Jesuit in Rochester, New York, trying to bring those upstate New York talented student athletes to their opportunities at D1, D2, as well as D3 and JUCO. And then we'll round out the show with CNY Native and CBA brother alum, same alma mater as mine, who went on to Boston College to play for Steve Adazio, who is connected to Syracuse as well. So all Syracuse and Central New York connects here on today's show with three fantastic guests to start off the week, and I am elated to start things off with Corey Cooper. Corey Cooper coming back to us. He's no stranger to the broadcast, but it's been a minute since we got to talk to him. Corey, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing? Haven't talked to you in a while.
I know, man. I'm doing very well. So, bring me into it and bring the listeners into it. You played up at Syracuse. You played wide receiver. Remind everybody kind of your story and what happened with you while you were at Syracuse and kind of what your history was like there.
Obviously I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. Coach George McDonald recruited me. He's now the OC at University of Illinois over there doing this thing. It's crazy because a lot of people don't know this story, but Coach McDonald, he was at my house and one for recruiting visit, and he was at the University of Arkansas. And the next day, literally 10 hours after, he took the job at Syracuse while still in Raleigh as the OC. So that was pretty, a lot of people don't know that story, how I went to Syracuse. So there you have it. Went to Syracuse, ended up transferring. I tried to get closer to home, but, obviously a lot of Coach Schaefer blocked some of my schools. Obviously we don't have the transfer portal back then where we couldn't, go to any schools and stuff like that. So it's a lot of schools in the ACC in North Carolina, so that's what I was really trying to get back to. But all those schools are on our schedule, and he basically blocked them. So that is what it is. After that, I went to Kansas for a year, Highland Community College. It's a community college in Tyler, Kansas. Very small school. Different experience coming from a D1. The atmosphere wasn't the same. And after spent the year there, after that, end up, just working. Basically was done with football and school at that time. And just ended up working. And then ended up graduating from Shaw University. I ended up playing my last 2 years there. And yeah, that's about it right there.
And like you said, a unique situation back in the day when the transfer portal not too long ago did not exist, and so coaches could block you from where they wanted you to go, and basically if they were playing a team on the schedule or if it was in the same conference, they could block it. And now they can't block anything. You can literally play anywhere, in conference, out of conference, wherever you want to go, play immediately. Just what your thoughts are on that, that the transfer portal, if you had it back then, you could have gone back to the state of North Carolina. You could have played at North Carolina or NC State or Duke or something like that, and go to East Carolina. You could have gone somewhere on Syracuse's schedule. Just what it means to you to see the transfer portal now and what it was like back then, like you said, where a coach could block you from where you played.
Definitely. So I'm 100% sure that if the transfer portal was there back then, I would have been at either NC State or Wake Forest, because those was the schools that contacted me back when I was about to transfer and asking, hey, can you get Coach Schaefer to block this? We'd love to take you. And obviously that didn't happen. So I'm 100% sure if the transfer portal was back then, I would have been at either NC State or either Wake Forest.
So
but, the transfer portal was great. I mean,
yeah,
I feel like the transfer portal is great. Obviously, it has its pros and cons, but every situation is different. A kid, might go to a school and like in my situation, kind of just far from home and want to get back home to his parents and stuff like that, his friends, and just play in front of them. Every situation is different.
Yeah, and for you, like you said, speaking here with Corey Cooper on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Kubal studios, Corey, a former wide receiver for Syracuse. Like you said, you would have ended up at Wake Forest or NC State. Do you feel, are you bitter because of that? How do you kind of handle that? Because I know other players, same thing, they were told they couldn't go here, there, and wherever, and I've had other players talk about it. Jordan Fredericks, when he transferred out, he was blocked by Babers to go to anybody on the schedule, and so if anybody had recruited him from that upcoming schedule, he couldn't go there. Are you bitter? How do you look back on it? You're happy for the kids now, but how do you look back on it yourself? How do you kind of assess that, knowing that you didn't have that opportunity that people now have?
I would say I was bitter back then, but obviously everything happens for a reason. I'm in a great position now. My goal is to be a general manager one day. So I would say I was bitter back then, but it is what it is at this point. I can't go back.
Yeah, why NC State and Wake Forest? Did you really feel a connection with them? Were you connected to them before your recruitment at Syracuse?
Yeah, definitely. NC State and Wake Forest was actually one of the first schools to reach out to me when I decided to transfer back then. So I had a really good relationship with the Wake Forest coaches in high school. NC State, I'm from Raleigh, just 10 minutes down the road, in my backyard, basically. So, yeah, I think I definitely would have ended up at one of those two schools if I wasn't blocked. And not only that, the coaches really could block you from anywhere. They could just say, hey, I don't want you to go to, let's just, Ole Miss or something. They could say, hey, and then just put a block on it. So the coaches really had total control of where you went back in the day before the transfer portal.
So for you, Corey, to know, like you said, the transfer portal has its positives and negatives, and I've talked about a bunch of different things on here on Wake Up Call. But do you think the best positive is that a coach can't just give you a list of schools like Jordan Frederick said to me with Dino, and like you had, that you can't just walk into their office and they go, okay, here's the 13 schools, and you say, well, coach, why is Old Dominion on here, or why is Memphis on here, or why is UCLA? We don't even play them, and I don't feel like you going there. To know that that's gone, is that the best positive?
Yeah, back then, yeah, definitely. Like I said before, the coaches had total control, 100%. Obviously, I wish, when I go back on it, obviously I wish I would have asked those questions, you know what I'm saying? Just, hey, why is this school on here? We don't play them. They're all the way on the West Coast, you know what I mean, or Midwest. Like,
yeah,
why are you doing this to me? Or, hindsight, just why you... When I got my transfer portal, not transfer portal, when I got my transfer papers, I seen all the schools that was, I couldn't go to. And, hindsight, I wish I'd go back on it and I would have asked those questions. I was 18 at the time, so, I've been in a better position than, hey, if I would have went to Coach Schaefer and said, hey, what school on this list? We don't play them. It's all the way on the West Coast, you know what I'm saying?
So for you, Corey, would you have transferred if you had known what the list was going to be? Would you have Like, if you knew in advance what it was going to look like, would you have maybe stayed at Syracuse? And what was your reason for leaving?
Definitely. I looking back on it now, yeah, I definitely would have ended up staying if I knew the schools was on that list. Um, but my main reason I left Syracuse was just to be closer to home. That's what my main objectives was, you know. That was just being closer to home. That's what, and I was trying to get closer to home. That's what the main objective was when I left Syracuse.
And you're leaving Syracuse. You kind of went all over. You tried to come back. Bring me into that you did try to come back to Syracuse after the fact.
Yeah, so with Dino, I talked to the receivers coach, you know, because my prep school roommate, Roger Lewis, was a receiver at Bowling Green with when Dino was there. So he got me in touch with him and stuff like that. But at that time, I think they already had their receivers at that time. And, you know, so that was a no-go. I think they took like 3 receivers in that class, or even 2. And, you know, they were just done recruiting receivers at that time.
So, Corey, what would be your advice? I know it's different now with the transfer portal and whatnot, but now that you went through it, you did the movement, you were at Syracuse, you decided to leave, you went somewhere else. What would be your advice to student athletes now that can go anywhere and can change schools and whatnot? From your experience, albeit without the actual physical transfer portal, what advice would you give student athletes?
Definitely the grass isn't greener on the other side. So, not always, you know what I'm saying? The grass isn't green on the other side, so just make sure you believe in God, have faith, talk to God about what you're doing while you're entering. You know, if you have the support system, parents, high school coaches, just talk to them. And maybe if I would have stayed at Syracuse one more year, everything would have been good. But I can't look back on it. So just have faith in God. Talk to people close to you. Go from there.
That coming here from Corey Cooper, former Syracuse wide receiver, who has moved on here to North Carolina. So, in an awesome way, as we speak with you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, not as a player, but as an analyst now and somebody who's aspiring to be a general manager, you have now found your way back to your home state of North Carolina. You didn't get to go to Wake Forest or NC State as a player, but now you're at North Carolina as an offensive recruiting analyst. So in some way, shape, or form, do you feel like God kind of helped you get to exactly where you wanted to go? I mean, do you feel like you're back on the right path, so to speak?
Oh yeah, definitely. God works in mysterious ways. It's crazy. God works in mysterious ways. So, and I just had my little girl, too. She was born last month. So, everything is good. I'm loving life right now. I want to thank Billy High. He the one that brought me into a recruiting analyst position here. He's the general manager here. So, just everything is working out. I'm loving what I'm doing. And I'm smiling every day I go to work.
What do you like about the UNC Tar Heels, experience as an offensive recruiting analyst for football? What are you enjoying?
This is what I want to do. I'm just loving every second of it. I didn't get to play against UNC when I was at Syracuse. Obviously, I visited UNC a couple of times back in high school, but I'm loving every second, being here. I come to work early sometimes, it's crazy. Once you love something, you'll do whatever for it. So I can honestly say I really love my job, and I'm smiling every day.
What makes you love North Carolina and the Tar Heels? What about this job when you said you go to work and you're smiling every day, which by the way is awesome? Why North Carolina?
The people I work with.
Okay.
Everybody's cool here. Everybody's loose here. Everybody smiles here. All the way to the head coach to the janitor. Everybody's I never see really nobody in a bad mood. So the people I'm working with is top tier, definitely. You know, I could go to their office anytime, you know, and crack jokes or whatever, and then get back to work. So definitely the people I'm working with is one of the main reasons.
And what can you say about Mac Brown? It's his second coming at North Carolina. What's it like being around him?
Oh, it's awesome. He's funny. He's an awesome guy. I love him. I love him. I see him every day wearing his, you know, Jordan 1s and Jordan, you know, 10s and, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, he's awesome.
And for you to be with Mac Brown and to be in this experience, what can you say specifically about, you know, the North Carolina team that you've taken away from them? How would you describe it from the inside out?
Definitely, we should have finished, you know, I feel like we should have finished with a better record, but I feel like next year is going to be definitely our year. You know, we got some players, some really great players coming back. And, you know, we finished with a top 10 recruiting class this year. So we got some, you know, some big guys coming in, and, you know, we got some big guys coming back as well as returning players.
You know, and who would you say offensively is one of the catalysts coming back, in your opinion, at North Carolina?
Offensively, I think the world knows this. Number 11, Josh Downs. He's a monster on the field. You know, he catches everything, and, you know, he's a monster.
And your job as an offensive recruiting analyst for the North Carolina Tar Heels is to find the diamonds in the rough. Bring me into that and what that's like. You know, you get to search film and kind of scour that and stay on campus and be a part of, you know, the campus experience when recruits come on. But bring me into what it's like for you to find a diamond in the rough.
You know, a diamond in the rough and the underdog is basically a player who is not getting recruited heavy. Maybe it's because he's at a small school in North Carolina or something like that, or Georgia, or whatever it is. Or maybe it's because, you know, he's on an inch, you know, of his grade, so everybody wants to stay away from him. So basically a player who isn't getting heavily recruited, but definitely has the talent to play at this level. Like I said, I play at the level. I know what it takes to, you know, play at the D1 level in the ACC. So just finding those guys who I think, in my mind, who can play at this level and, you know, have a great career for us, either it's 3 years or 4 years, and just, you know, and be, you know, a student of the game. That's the main thing.
And when you're doing this, when you're searching for this, do you see yourself, you know, in this experience when you go back? I mean, do you consider yourself in your own way a diamond in the rough? So for you, are you find maybe some nostalgia or some appreciation to pay it forward as an offensive recruiting analyst at North Carolina to find a diamond in the rough?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. You know, I would say, you know, I was a little bit of a diamond in the rough, even though I was a 3-star. But it's definitely a great feeling, you know, just to get that player who, you know, maybe doesn't have all the physical traits but can play at this level. So and one thing is, it's definitely great that if he does, you know, come, you know, let's say UNC or any other school, you can track what he's doing and say, you know, hey, you know, this is the guy I found, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, look what he's doing and stuff like that.
Coming here from Corey Cooper. Corey speaking with us on the transfer portal, his experience at Syracuse, as well as moving forward here at North Carolina. I know you got a big bowl game coming up in the Bank of America Stadium right down the road there in Charlotte, North Carolina, right by the highway, the home of the Carolina Panthers. So for you, North Carolina, South Carolina, the Battle of the Carolinas, a pretty awesome bowl game. What are you most looking forward to?
Just definitely getting down there and, you know, playing South Carolina. South Carolina recruited me out of high school, and South Carolina recruited me out of high school, so it's just, you know, just get down there, have fun, and obviously, most importantly, win the bowl game. And also, Christmas is my birthday too, so that'll be a good Christmas present and birthday present.
Well, happy early birthday, and may I tell all of your family and friends that they can't just buy you a Christmas gift and say it's your birthday gift too. They got to get you two. They got to do right by you. So,
I never really got double presents, so hopefully this year I'll get a double present.
Yeah. Well, God is good, so just remember that. So,
definitely, all the time.
With that being said, Corey Cooper. Corey, appreciate having you back. I'd love to have you back again. I know we got to spend a few minutes today, but we'd love to keep in touch with you. Definitely around the bowl time as well. And I just hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you're living your dreams. And beyond everything else, I want the best for you, and always appreciate having you on.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Wish you the best, and God bless.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you.
Take care. That coming once again from Corey Cooper on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around here on Facebook as well and on YouTube, we will be back here with Andre Fontenette. He'll be joining us, another Syracuse Orange wide receiver alum, and he is an assistant coach for McQuaid Jesuit, which is out in Rochester, helping those young student athletes find their place and find opportunities at the college football level, just as he had, as he is a sports analyst as well. So a lot of great stuff coming up with Andre right after this fast break, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So stay close, and we'll be back here right after you hear from our awesome partners in Central and Upstate New York, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets that thing called life. Appreciate your patience as we were traveling from this weekend this morning, so very happy to be here with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios and hope that you're having a terrific start to your Christmas week. I'm excited that my start to my Christmas week is filled with three former student athletes that were all connected to Central and Upstate New York and connected to the community here, even more so as we go on. And Corey Cooper came to Syracuse from North Carolina, looked to come back and have that opportunity. Andre Fontenette is very, very familiar, obviously, with upstate New York, comes to Syracuse as a wide receiver and is now an assistant coach at McQuaid Jesuit in Rochester. And so back in familiar digs. And then coming up in hour number 2, we'll have John Phillips here with us, a CBA native right here down the road from Syracuse, who was recruited and went D1 to play on the offensive line for Boston College and go to numerous bowl games and be in the postseason under Steve Addazio, a former coach for Syracuse. So with all that being said, I am like a kid on Christmas morning having these 3 guests. So we had Corey. Now we head to our second guest of the morning inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. That's Andre Fontenette. And we were talking about his name off the air. He is French and Creole, which I think means good food and probably an awesome experience. Let's bring him in and see how things are going. Andre, how you doing?
I'm good, Dan. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. And you were talking to me about, family connected down in Louisiana, and I know that area. I know New Orleans. I was down there for Katrina relief back in 2006. So bring me into just the experience of being French Creole and what that life is like, because I would imagine that you guys have a pretty interesting kind of smorgasbord of food and something that I feel like I should get invited over for now.
Well, my mom is actually not French Creole.
Okay, what's mom?
Her family's from Alabama, but she makes a mean French Creole gumbo.
Okay.
So that's a big connection for her. But my dad's family is all from Louisiana, Baton Rouge, New Iberia, St. Martinville, Louisiana, all country. And my uncle still lives down there. He still comes to visit once in a while. He was just here in Rochester. But, we're down in New Orleans for my bachelor party. And I've been down there a couple times with my wife. So I try to get down as much as possible. And, we definitely have a connection to the South a little bit.
Yeah, no, and it's incredible. And you obviously have a connection to upstate New York. And, I have been adamant about promoting the New York State athlete, student athletes. And with basketball, we see that, there's coverage and there's appreciation. With soccer and Olympic sports, we're seeing that. But with football, there's this negative stigma. And a lot of people, when I put out, obviously my thoughts and my feelings that local should be important. It's important to Boston College. It's important to wherever Steve Addazio goes. So when he was at Colorado State, it was important to Randy Edsall at UConn. It's been, important to the Big Ten to recruit here. Nick Saban has been up here from Alabama. So we know that there's an importance. Buffalo with Mike Washington Jr. And yet, the school right down the road, Syracuse, really doesn't take a lot of look at it. As a former Syracuse player and as someone who's in Rochester at McQuaid Jesuit, doing everything that you can to get those student athletes in front of the right people, what are your thoughts on the disconnect between New York State recruiting and Syracuse University?
Well, first of all, I think you're right. I mean, there's definitely talent here in Rochester, Buffalo, and in Syracuse, I know for a fact. So I coached Division I football for 9 years before I got to high school level. I coached at Brockport State, which is a Division III school. I left Brockport. I went to Wagner College, coached for 2 years. I left Wagner. I went to Maine. I left Maine after 2 years, had some of the best passing stats in the CAA for those 2 years. And then I went to Campbell University in North Carolina, down near Corey, which is in Bowie's Creek, North Carolina. So my point is that I've seen talented players, and I know what a Division I athlete looks like, in my opinion. And we definitely have talent in Rochester, Buffalo, Central, and Upstate New York. I know in Buffalo, coaching at McQuaid, we played in the state regional. In Buffalo, the Bennett running back from Bennett High School, that kid killed us. He killed us, and he's a Division I kid. And he's only a junior. They also have a defensive tackle there who's getting Division I looks from SEC schools and Pitt and UConn and this and that. I'm not sure 100% that SU is recruiting him. I don't know for a fact. But I'm just saying I haven't heard anything. Even here in Rochester, UPrep High School, which is a new charter school here in Rochester. Isaiah Young doing a great job head coaching over there. They just won sectionals. They have a defensive tackle there, Sherrod Watkins, who is truly a Division I athlete. I mean, you should just watch his highlight film on Huddle, and you'll see very quickly, probably on the first play, that the kid is a dominant player. And then even at McQuaid, I think we have some 1AA to maybe a 3-star 1A player. But my point is that even if you don't have kids that are as talented as you want them to be, in my opinion, you should still find a way to recruit New York State kids, just because it's your hometown, and you want to try and recruit those kids from when they're in 6th, 7th grade to become Syracuse fans and say, hey, I've seen Coach whoever or Coach Babers, he came to my high school, and that made me want to be a Syracuse fan. That's a goal of mine. And so when a kid happens to be a 3 or 4-star kid, then he already has in his opinion, hey, Syracuse isn't all that bad of a place to go. We have talented players all around the area. I hope that Syracuse decides to recruit some of them. And to be honest with you, Dan, maybe Syracuse should have like 1 or 2 scholarships set aside specifically for New York State kids. In my opinion, if I was a recruiting coordinator, if I was a head coach or whoever, a decision maker of any college, I would probably do something to ensure that I'm recruiting the home base first. Yeah.
And I hear that. I do. I hear that loud and clear. Andre Fontenette coming to us, a Syracuse Orange wide receiver, alum, and obviously coaching now in McQuaid, Jesuit in Rochester, New York. And before that, like you said, going to a bunch of different places at the collegiate level and seeing the talent and obviously knowing, what you were looking for out there recruiting-wise and whatnot. Dino made the statement, and I shared it because I've been saying this for a very long time that, when Syracuse puts out on social media, hey, we're coming, it's bye week, we're coming out to see you, we're going to be there, our assistant coaches are on the ground, and I know the coaches, so I know that that's not happening. And, talking to West Genesee.
Are you saying that's not happening during the football season, like during the bye week?
I'm saying that when they put out, hey, we're going there, talking to the coaches are like, nobody came here.
Oh, okay, right.
So, to hear from these coaches and say from West Genny to Liverpool to Shenango Forks to Windsor to Union Endicott, Maine Endwell, and so on and so forth, CNS, CBA, they're not going there. And Servassier Dennis, who I specifically asked Dino about, who's at Pittsburgh right now, Servassier was a quarterback for CBA. He went to prep school. He put on some weights, and I think he gained like 25 pounds. And he's been linebacker of the week in the ACC. He just won a championship in the ACC with Pitt. He has been a phenomenal linebacker. He'll get his look, I believe, in the NFL. And he was never offered by Dino. Stevie Scott was allegedly told Dino he didn't want to come to Syracuse. That's not the story that I know. So, I'm seeing these kids, and I'm thinking in my head, okay, so I don't think they're going out to these places. And then Dino was asked a direct question, have you gone to see any local games this year? And he said, and I shared this, and I know you saw it and a lot of people saw it on social media, just one statement that said, I have not gone to any local games this year. None. And what really struck me was that the NYSPHSAA had their state championship games in Class AA, A, B, C, and D all in the Dome. So Dino didn't have to go anywhere. He didn't have to do anything. He literally just had to go to the place that he practices and coaches at all the time and sneak in, just kind of walk in there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. And all the teams came to him. 10 teams came to him. Bennett that you talked about, and Shenango Forks and CBA where he's recruiting Sire Torrance and whatnot. So I took an issue to hearing I haven't been to a single game. And I know that, a lot of people kind of took an issue to that. Some people, responded to me by telling me there is no talent in New York State, and I should stop trying to say that there's any talent here, which breaks my heart for the kids here. So I'd love to get your thoughts, because I know on social media you've responded to some stuff, and we've talked that way, but we've never talked on the air about it.
Well, first of all, 2 years ago at McQuaid Jesuit, we went to the state championship, and we ended up losing to Ray Rice's high school, New Rochelle. They whacked us, but I don't think there was anyone that represented Syracuse football at that game either. That's disappointing to hear that nobody. I mean, at the end of the day, you should at least send an assistant or Dion Maddox or somebody. That's disappointing to hear that you're not attending the games, especially on a Friday night. A night before you have a home game. You should be able to appear to a high school game and have your assistants hold down the fort at the hotel or whatever. So, but I'll tell you what, if I was Coach Babers, the first thing I would do is to get back to build those relationships with the high school coaches. You got to have a coaching clinic. Much like what Coach P did when I was there. He used to make us go out there in Manley Fieldhouse, do drills in front of the high school coaches, answer questions for high school coaches. There would be 200 high school coaches at Manley just watching us do drills and learning from the Syracuse coaches. They spend like 2 days with them, and then they build those relationships with those high school coaches so that, they will go to the high school game and they will be able to be on the sideline, shake their hand, and, it's not the first time that they've ever seen them. The other thing I would do is, which Coach Babers has started to do, is, get more alumni involved, especially from New York State. But, when you're in a situation where you don't come from orange blood, you should, in my opinion, get as many people that do have orange blood on your side.
Right.
And so you got guys like Ladee Williams coaching quarterbacks in New Jersey, who's putting kids in college, like the Notre Dame quarterback and the Rutgers quarterback and this quarterback and that quarterback. He's a quarterback guru in Northeast in New Jersey. One of the hottest recruiting areas in the country. Maybe you should get a hold of Ladee and find out what's up. He got Dion Maddox involved with recruiting and things like that, which is a great step forward because Dion so far has put in a lot of effort towards getting other alumni involved. But there's, including myself, there's Bruce Williams, as you know, at CBA coaching. There's Corey, who you just talked to. There's people who graduated and that are alum from Syracuse who would definitely jump at the chance to get involved, and including myself, with Division I coaching experience. So I think you should get as many alumni involved that way as possible. Even if you don't know them directly, until you should reach out, interview, whatever you need to do to get an alumni involved instead of strangers. And then the last thing I would do is, I would promote the recruiting more in terms of who's coming to the games. Do everything you could do. I thought they did a cool thing with the marketing of the movie, the movie posters for the recruits. I thought that was a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
For the early signees. But I would do something to promote kids more, to make them feel special, like that Syracuse University is a place where you want to, change a program back around. And if you want to have a chance to play early, if I'm a quarterback and I'm a 4-star kid, or if I'm a transfer quarterback, I'm thinking, man, I can go to Syracuse and start at a Division I school. So I would go about things that way in terms of recruiting. There's a lot of things that we hope that would happen, but it just hasn't happened yet. Do I like Coach Babers? Yes, I've met him a couple times. He seems like a real nice guy. The winning hasn't happened yet, and I'm not sure if it will, but I hope it does.
Yeah, and I think when you're a coach that's not from these parts, it behooves you to hire the right people. Now, he waited 5 years before he brought on Dion Maddox, and Dion's been given a lot of respect and appreciation from the alumni that he's trying. Coach Hicks, who used to be on the coaching staff, and then they moved him to another part of Syracuse University, which to me I think is wrong because he has connections with all 32 NFL teams, and I think since they moved him, Syracuse has not had a bridge to the NFL like they had before. And Hicksy is there, and he's doing his best. But I think to me, to have a coach that's open to that wants that is willing to do that, I'm just not seeing. I'm not seeing that bond. I'm not seeing that relationship, and I keep seeing these guys leaving and going elsewhere. And I just want to get rid of the moniker, Andre. I want to get rid of this stigma that people have started to buy into, which Syracuse doesn't have good high school athletes. Upstate and Central New York doesn't. And I'm not going to say who the coach was, but there was a coach that I was on the phone with, and he was recruiting a kid from Central New York. And the kid had a ton of offers. He ended up having almost 20. And he's playing D1 ball right now. And and he's talking to me on the phone, and he goes, "Let me ask you a question. What's wrong with the kid?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, Syracuse isn't recruiting him, and they're right down the road, so there's got to be something that they see. There's got to be something wrong with him. So am I missing something on film? Is there something with his character? Does he hang around the wrong people? Like, what's wrong with this guy?" And I said to the guy on the phone, I go, "There's nothing wrong with him." And then I got off the phone and I thought to myself, wow, by not recruiting these players, Syracuse is not only hurting them in Syracuse, but they're hurting them elsewhere, because people are thinking if they're not getting recruited by the team down the road, they must have a character flaw, they must have a bad background, they must have bad grades, they must have bad this. Like, they honestly thought there was something wrong with the kid because Syracuse didn't want him, so they were thinking, are we thinking too high of this kid? And I'm like, thank God I'm on the phone with this guy right now so that I can tell him no. But I mean, I just want to get rid of this negative stigma. And trust me, I've been verbally attacked on social media for the past week because I stuck up for student athletes in the state of New York. I never thought that being nice to the kids was going to cause so many problems on social media with people attacking me. But Andre, I want people to stop believing that, well, if Dino's not recruiting them, they must suck. Because I'm over that. And I hate what it's doing to the kids, and I hate how it's making the kids feel in the community.
Well, at this point, I hate to say it like this, but at this point, Syracuse has obviously lost a lot more than they've won, so something's not working. And I see University of Buffalo. Man, when I was in school, like University of Buffalo, we played them. My first ever game at Syracuse, we played against UB. We blew them out. Unfortunately, we blew them out. But it's like it was looked at as, they were one AA team just moving to Division I at the time. But it was looked at as an automatic W. And at this current moment, I'm not sure that we could beat University of Buffalo, who has a ton of Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, and Albany kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you tell me, we played against their fullback at University of Buffalo. He's from Pittsford, New York. His dad's a high school head coach at Pittsford. And he's huge, and he's a fullback, and he does very well for University of Buffalo. University of Buffalo's starting kicker, who doesn't talk about transferring, he's a McQuaid kid.
Yeah.
So, and he has a leg. So who knows? I would just hope that you would just specifically take a look at New York State kids just because you're in this area. It seems obvious. I don't know.
No, and that's the thing that frustrates me is the 5-hour radius, right? You're supposed to go from your backyard out. And Steve Adazio, who used to coach at Syracuse under Paul Pasqualoni, he did the whole Northeast, like 80% of the roster, Massachusetts, New York, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and he went to a bowl game every year except for 1 year at Boston College. And so I look at him doing it. I look at Pat Narduzzi at Pitt doing it. I look at, like I said, with Randy Edsel and what he had done, and Paul Pasqualoni, what he continued to do. And I find it funny that people said to me, Dan, there's no talent here. They're not good. Like, we need fives. People think that Syracuse is going to get the 5-star #1 wide receiver out of Florida. You're going to get the 81st wide receiver out of Florida that Florida State said no to, that Florida said no to, that Miami said no to, that Georgia ran out of space for, that LSU couldn't take, that Texas didn't have room for, that UCLA didn't want. I mean, that's the reality. You're not going to get the top guy in Florida. You're not going to get the top guy in Georgia. You're not going to get the top guy in North Carolina.
Well, Deion did it.
What'd you say?
Deion Sanders did it.
Right.
Because he's doing something different to try to attract the recruits, and that's what it's all about. You're not going to get those kids. You're absolutely right, Dan. But you know what? You have to be able to figure out a way to just squeeze out a 4-star player in some position that your niche is. What's your niche at Syracuse? Is it right now? It seems like young defensive backs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is that your thing? Like, join this fraternity of defensive back school, and then you get Donovan Darius involved. You know what I mean? Or Keon Walker, or Willie Ford, or something like that. And try and make it DBU. Or if we're known for running backs, obviously we got Sean Tucker, and we have Walter Reyes, and Diamond Ferry, and countless others. get those guys involved some kind of way. And the other thing I would do, Dan, I was thinking about as you were talking, I would get not only New York State players, but I would get alumni involved with their kids. You're seeing nowadays all these guys, their kids are going, like I'm seeing Emmitt Smith's son. You know, he didn't go to Georgia, but, you know, I'm seeing Emmitt Smith's son. I'm seeing this kid, this guy's son. Deion's son is a Division I player. You know, figure out these alumni who graduated, 15, 20 years ago, who are now having kids and now are 18, 19 years old and are Division I players. For instance, Johnny Morant. I played with Johnny. Johnny had a kid when we were in college. His son is from New Jersey, but Johnny's a Syracuse guy. I'm sure his son would have loved to at least look at it. Guess where he's playing as a true freshman? He's at Michigan.
Yeah.
What about Quadri Ishmael's son? You know what I mean? He's going to, I think he's at Villanova playing, but he's a 1AA kid. But he's an alum. Like, you got to figure out a way to pipeline the alum, not only the New York State guys, but the alumni as well.
Well, what about Marvin Harrison's son, who's over at Ohio State?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
like, you should figure out a way to at least get those kids on campus and say, hey, we tried.
Right, and they brought on Kevin Johnson Jr.'s son.
Know about them.
Yeah, and Kevin Johnson Jr., his son came on campus. He committed to Syracuse, and then he transferred, and now he's down at Florida.
Right.
So I mean, it's just I don't know how you lose that. Like that to me.
Not to cut you off, Dan, but another thing.
Yeah.
What about someone like? Now, not that he would do this, but did you know that now Miami had their problems with recruiting, and so did Louisville. But the director of recruiting at that time was a guy named Clint Hurt. Clint Hurt is now the defensive line coach of the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm not saying he should do this, but the quarterback. So why not get someone like that involved in New York State recruiting? Just another thought. I don't know.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you got to have that pipeline. You got to have that connection. Greg Schiano's second coming in Rutgers, he's already beating Syracuse in recruiting. And, I mean, it's just – but this whole reality that people live in that the Northeast doesn't have it, you're in Rochester, right? You're at McQuaid, Jesuit, Aquinas Institute's there. I mean, there's a lot. There's places in Buffalo. There's a bunch of opportunities all throughout. And I want to remind people that little old Union Endicott is where Chandler and Arthur Jones came from, who both went to the NFL after going to Syracuse and won Super Bowls. And so why not call Arthur and Chandler and say to them, hey, why don't you, talk to us about the Southern Tier, talk to us about Shenango Forks, talk to us about Union Endicott and Maine Endwell.
How can we get involved with them? Yeah.
I mean,
you're absolutely right.
It seems it's so simple, but I think there's this desire to prove a point, and it's not being proven. And back in 1987, when Syracuse was undefeated, they had a bunch of New York players. And the Elmira Express, Ernie Davis, that's Elmira, New York, people. So it's like, I mean, to me, it's this whole notion of there's never been talent, there's never going to be talent. It's just not true. And John Phillips, who's going to be on the show in just a minute, is from CBA, in a long line of players that Dino could ride a tricycle to at CBA down the road. And John Phillips went to Boston College, was on the offensive line, and he was blocking for all them big-time running backs, blocking for those A.J. Dillons, blocking for all that success and going to bowl games. And he very easily could have come to Syracuse. And I just, to me, Andre, I just don't understand why we live in a world where people were told there's no talent in New York State, and because the majority agree with this, it's like Marvel in DC. They tell you Marvel's great, DC sucks, so most people hate DC. And so, I mean, it's this notion of there's no talent here, so let's just move on. And I don't agree with that. If there's no talent, I mean, I just find that so hard to believe. And see, the difference between me and the ignorance of the world is that I actually go to these games that Dino could have gone to at the Dome. I was there. And so I know the coaches. I know these teams. I know these players. I sit with the players. I sit with the coaches. I spend time with them. So I actually know them. And here's the thing. What if Dino went out to a practice and sent his assistants out to practices, and let's just say, for argument's sake, they didn't see anybody that they wanted to take?
I know exactly what you're about to say. Go ahead.
A kid is going to see Dino. He's going to see Tony White. He's going to see Deion Maddox. He's going to see Mike Lynch. He's going to see Nick Monroe, and he's going to go, oh, my God, A D1 guy in the ACC came to see me, Mom, and he's going to bust his butt. And maybe he goes FCS, and maybe he goes D2, maybe he goes D3, maybe he goes JUCO, maybe he becomes a janitor. But I'm going to tell you something. When he sees that coach, he is going to bust his butt. Because if I see a D1 coach walk his butt into me, especially the coach of my hometown that I love my whole life, oh my God, I'm going to hit somebody that day.
Right. And, you know, not only that, but what about you see a kid and he might be in 8th grade and he sees you looking at the seniors. And then all of a sudden he becomes that Syracuse fan like I was saying earlier. You know what I mean? All of a sudden it becomes a specific goal to get to Syracuse University because I saw this. I saw the offensive coordinator. I realized these are real people. Or you don't find anybody at all. But you never know when 3, 4, 5 years from now that one kid named Mike Hart comes from this little old tiny high school and he ends up being a baller. And you already have the inside scoop on him because you already built that relationship with the school.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's all about. Like you were talking to Corey about, it's about finding the diamond in the rough and being willing, at this point, doing something different than you've been doing because it hasn't worked and, you know, take some chances.
You know, and that's the thing is, and Bruce Williams just brought up, he said, we have SU alumni here in New York State and other areas. I can tell you 3 SU alumni at top 20 programs in the country, Antoine Bailey at St. John's in D.C., then you have Oliver at St. Thomas Aquinas, Darrell Eskridge at Miami Central, both in Florida, top 20 programs with a load of talent. I know that you talked about it. I know other coaches said, I have players that I want to send to Syracuse. I have players that I want, you know, Dino to call me about. And it's true. And then Travis said, Rutgers took New York's #1 overall player. Pitt took number 2 and 3. Penn State got the 4th best New York player. And so, I mean, we're talking about this, but this is the thing. You got alumni at prominent programs saying, call me. I mean, for goodness sakes, Andre, I know you're at McQuaid Jesuit, but you're going up against all these schools. You're seeing all these schools. You could easily call Syracuse and say, hey, out of everybody on our roster, out of everybody that we played, here's the 4 guys I think you should call. I mean, you very easily could say, hey, Dino, 45 minutes from you, here's these 3 guys to check out. I'll send you their film.
Right. And I'm just saying, we've won 3 Section 5 titles in a row at McQuaid. We started from the bottom, okay? And we've won 3 in a row now, almost 4. And we have players that you know, at least I think we have one kid who I think is recruitable. Obviously, Bruce and his squad just won the state championship at the Class A level. They have a receiver, which you said that he's getting recruited. But we just got to make sure that, as we talk about this, we just got to make sure that is Syracuse not recruiting these kids, or are these kids choosing not to go to Syracuse? Because if they're choosing not to go to Syracuse after we're getting recruited, then that's a whole different story. And that's what we got to make sure that we know. Because Dino Babers and squad might be recruiting some of these kids, and they just choose to go elsewhere because the team isn't successful. Or are they not recruiting them at all?
And that's the thing is, I'm sitting here saying, how does Pitt and Rutgers, how do they have a better argument than the school that you grew up loving? And the thing is, I know a lot of these kids weren't being recruited, or they were stopped being recruited because Aquinas Institute had a quarterback who told me, they stopped calling me, so I don't care. Stevie Scott, and Jake Zembeck. And Stevie Scott said to me, I said, why don't you talk to me about Syracuse? He goes, they don't call me. I don't talk about people who don't talk to me. I mean, he was going to Rutgers. He went to Indiana. He told me flat out, I don't talk about schools that don't talk to me. And so, you know, there's that. Servatier Dennis wasn't even offered. Noah Jordan Williams told me flat out, he goes, I can't wait to come here and beat their butt. He wanted to play for Syracuse, but Syracuse didn't want. So you're making these kids that loved you, now they hate you. They're not going to come back and build families here. They're not going to build businesses in Syracuse. They may never come back. And to me, it's like, this kid grew up with an SU jersey. He grew up thinking about Syracuse, going to Syracuse games with his parents. There should not be BC and Rutgers and Indiana and Wisconsin and Alabama and Pitt. Those hats should not be in Syracuse. That should be blasphemy.
Yeah. And not only are these players going to those schools, but they're successful at those schools. It's not like they're bums sitting the bench. Like, you know, you're talking about the offensive lineman. He was a 3-year starter, you know? Yeah. You talk about, you know, different players. They're finding, I mean, the kid at Indiana, like you were just talking about. I mean, they're all over the country, and they only come back to Syracuse for Christmas, you know. But they're probably playing in a bowl game, and we're not. So who knows?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, if I'm Servassier Dennis, I'm like, thank you for not recruiting me, Syracuse. I just won an ACC championship.
Yeah, you did me a favor.
Yeah, like you did. Yeah, you did me a favor. You got me with Pat Narduzzi on a team that's known for their defense, on a team that had the Aaron Donalds of the world. I'm getting looked at. I'm going to get a shot in the NFL, and it breaks my heart. And this is the thing that I look at beyond everything else is that if we look at the world that Syracuse is in right now, if you go to see a 4-8 team with a bunch of players that you don't know, you may leave in the third quarter. But if you go see a 4-8 team that your son is on, who played down the street, and your whole family's there, the Jerry McNamara effect, he was 2 hours away. But, I mean, you look at that. I say it to you like this. I'm not saying Syracuse take a bunch of random players that, from all these schools. I'm saying if they're capable of playing D1, which the rest of the country that's recruited them is telling you that they are, if they're capable of playing D1 and they're on your team, when you stink, the fans aren't going to leave, because they're not going to leave their son and their student and their classmate. They're not going to leave them. If you take a kid from Shenango Forks, you're going to have 300 people sitting in the stands watching the game. Like, I mean, that's just reality. But you can't keep selling Hawaii and Wyoming and North Dakota and East Bumbletucky. You can't keep selling that when you're 4-8. But if you're 4-8 and you got, and this is the thing with Sire Torrance that really bugs me, when he says, I haven't seen a game all year, you're recruiting Sire, you offered him, and you just told him and his family that you haven't seen a single one of his games, including his sectional and state championship, in your house.
And the high school is 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that kills me. Now, Bruce said to me, he just mentioned that you're coaching the little brother of a former Syracuse player?
Am I coaching the little brother? Yeah. Avery Collier, he was a running back at Syracuse. He went to my high school. Okay. And he played running back at SU for a year or two and then ended up not working out. He transferred out. But his brother, Zay Collier, is a Division I kid, in my opinion. And he's only a junior right now. He's going to be a senior next season. But I think he may be a Division I to 1AA player. But even if he's not a 1AA player, there should still be a conversation held with the kid, just in case.
Yeah. And again, if I got a phone call from Dino and they didn't end up taking me, I would at least be like, oh my God. Like, when you tell the community, when you say I have not been to a local game all year, you're not telling the kids. You're telling the kids, the business owners, the alumni, the boosters, the parents, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the girlfriends, the boyfriends. You are telling everyone, I did not take 5 minutes to come see those kids. And then you're trying to sell tickets to those kids.
Every year, just to be coming to the state championships every year, because it's, like you said, it's in your stadium. It's not like it's somewhere else in the city. You know what I mean? It's literally down the street from your office. It should be in your calendar every year. Okay, this Friday and Saturday every year, or whatever it is, I'm going to be at the Carrier Dome for that. And then on Friday nights, anyone who's within like a 2-hour driving distance, we're going to see on a Friday night, the night before our game. I'm going to send out one assistant coach to just make an appearance, and let them drive there and drive back, and then come coach the game tomorrow. Yeah. There's just, things they got to do, and it's just frustrating to hear so much that they're not doing it. Hopefully Dion helps to get it right, but at this point it just hasn't happened. And the truth is, Dan, Coach Babers I think if they don't win 6 next year, I mean, he's gone, in my opinion.
Right.
So it's like, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, bro. Let's go.
Right. And the thing, well, Dan, come on. You want him to go to a West Jenny game when he's got to fly down to Florida? Hey, listen. He can fly down to Florida Saturday morning, but on Friday it would be at no time can he go down. I mean, come on. And he's not going to get those kids. Again, he's not going to get those kids.
Hell, I had coaches coming to my basketball when I was in high school 21 years ago, just to age myself a little bit. But when I was in high school, I remember Coach Walker coming to my high school basketball games. I remember Wake Forest coming all the way to Rochester to watch me play basketball. I wasn't even a good basketball player, but they came to check out my athleticism or whatever they were doing. And they put in that effort towards towards me, and that's what Coach Babers and staff need to be doing, in my opinion, is really putting an effort towards the alumni, the high school coaches, and building relationships, and obviously recruiting local talent.
If you want to remain, you want to be strong, remember something. The people that you're asking money from, the alumni, if they don't feel welcome, they're not giving you money. And if you shut out the local community and you don't care about their kids, they're not coming to the games, they're not spending money. So if it's all about the money and you don't even care about anybody, you would make the phone calls to the alumni and you would go to the local games, even if you were just selfishly trying to make money.
Yeah. I will say this: the Carrier Dome does look great. I went to a game this year.
It's awesome, yeah, it's great.
And I was totally shocked. The lights went down. They had the spotlight going during the timeout and the music. And it really felt like an experience being there. So I think that's a great first step. I didn't get a chance to go down to Manly, and I didn't get a chance to get on the sideline or anything like that. But I was there at the game, and they're doing the right thing in terms of the atmosphere, and the facilities are just as nice. I mean, I've been to LSU. I've been to Pittsburgh. I've been to West Virginia, and I've been to Syracuse when I played. And I've been to Rutgers. I've been all over, and Syracuse has now up-to-date facilities where they should be able to compete in terms of that with other schools. It's just as nice at Syracuse as it is, anywhere else at BC or Pitt or anywhere else. It's just as nice, if not better.
But
and you play indoors. Like, come on, guys, let's get these kids from New York State and other areas. And I do like the kids they signed. They only signed, one New York State kid? Early?
Yeah, one New York State kid.
Yeah, from Long Island, I think it was. But there's got to be several more that are worth the look, and I hope they get there.
Jay Bromley, down on the island, he had no stars and no offers, and he was a last minute by Tim Doust, and he went to the NFL in the third round. I mean, and he was playing with Drew Brees, and he was playing with Eli Manning. So, and he was on the field. It's not like he didn't do anything. But, I agree with you. The facilities are great. The Ensley Center keeps getting upgraded. The Dome got upgraded. I agree with you. They're great. But if you don't have the right coaching and you don't reach out to the former players and you don't build a relationship with the community, all it is lipstick on a pig.
Yeah. And I just hope that it turns around, and I hope Coach Babers is the one to turn it around too. I like Coach Babers, and I think it's huge to have an African American coach to try and influence some of these kids. I think it's a great idea, and I think that he's proven himself at other places that he can find success. We just haven't seen it yet, but I think that for many reasons he is the guy to be able to do it. We just got to change up a couple things.
I told him when I met him, and I hold this true today when I shook his hand. I said, Coach, I want you to win every game, and I want you to be successful. All I'm asking is to just be open to your community, be open to the local kids that are getting recruited by your competition. You play Rutgers and Pitt, and I just want to reach out to the alumni and make these people that your job wouldn't exist if Andre Fontenette and the rest of the guys didn't build it for you. So to me, it's like the first phone call you should make when you get that job is a thank you to everybody that came before you. Not just Jim Brown, but everybody. And I think that's the first thing you got to – listen, on Thanksgiving, I sent out over 300 text messages to wish people a happy Thanksgiving. So if I can do it, Coach – You got to block out a couple hours to just say, "Hey, what's up?" to a few people. And if you need 60 or 70 alumni's phone numbers, I can get them to you.
And the best part about it is nowadays, all you got to do is FaceTime them or Zoom them. Like, you don't even have to leave your office. Just have a scheduled Zoom with some kid. You don't even have to really go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's to your advantage nowadays in terms of timing and scheduling, or you should be able to have access and see many more kids than you had to before when you're driving from Rochester to Buffalo in the same night just to see 2-3 different kids.
Yeah. So, my thing is, I hope for the best, but I'm sticking up for these kids, and I'll continue to. So give a shout out to your team at McQuaid Jesuit, and I'd love to come out there and see you guys. Love to come out to Rochester and get to spend some time with you face to face. So hopefully we can do that soon, Andre.
Well, I just so you know, I plan on us coming to you next year for the state championship, so you can come see us then.
All right. Okay. I feel that. In the meantime, if you want to grab something, maybe we do that. Absolutely. All right, man. Well, listen, take care of yourself. Stay safe. Merry Christmas. And Yeah, I definitely would love to have some more time with you, and I'm thankful for your support, and I'm thankful for your being a part of the show today.
Absolutely, Dan. Thanks for having me, and have a good holiday, man.
All right, take care.
All right.
See you. That coming from Andre Fontenette one more time. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, John Phillips will be joining us here, as I know that you have been patient for John to be on the show, and we had some extra time with Andre, so we'll make sure we give some extra time to John right after this fast break, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be here with you inside the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, as well as on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners at their drive-through location in North Syracuse, and on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, as well as inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital, where they are performing miracles every day for our kids and our families, and we thank them for all that they do. And really, before I go anywhere, I just want to take a moment of silence with that being said for anyone that needs a special prayer right now, because I know it's been a trying year. So with that being said, a trio of guests to start off this Christmas week of Wake Up Call. I am very spoiled. I got my presents early. That's how I look at it. I had Corey Cooper to start off the show, former Syracuse wide receiver, now an offensive recruiting analyst in North Carolina. I had Andre Fontenette, former Syracuse wide receiver, who is now coaching at McQuaid Jesuit and has coached throughout college football and at so many different places, as he mentioned, Maine and Wagner and whatnot. And now I have, and I'm going to introduce him this way because I feel like it, so hopefully John will be okay with this. But John went to CBA. I went to CBA. John Phillips is a certified killer on the football field. And he's from Central New York. So I'm going to look into the camera when I say this, and I know John can't see me right now, but I'm going to look right into the camera, and I'm looking at all of you ignorant and illogical, irrational people. Because I'm going to say this, I'm going to say it once, and I mean this with my heart. If Syracuse doesn't have any talent, if Central and Upstate New York doesn't have any talent, who's John Phillips? Who's Tyler Rouse? Who's Tyler Days? Who's Stevie Scott? Who's Dorsey Levens? Who's Latavius Murray? Who's Sire Torrance? Who's Greg Paulus? And on and on and on, and Noah Jordan Williams. And on and on and on and on and on. I will support these fantastic people, and I'll support their families. Because if I can do anything in this world, if I can help but one person, I'm going to. So come at me, yell at me, call me whatever you want to call me, but I will protect these kids with every fiber of my being. I don't care how old they get. This is my community. This is my home. And if there is good here, I have no problem supporting it. That means on and off the field, on and off the court. John Phillips is one of my favorite people because John Phillips worked his behind off and he represents this community well. And I will always support that. No matter where they play, no matter what opportunities they get, I got their back. And with that being said, Mr. Phillips, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for that warm welcome there, Dan. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And you deserve it, John, and I hope you know that.
Well, I don't know about the certified killer out there on the field, but I will absolutely claim the CBA alum as the product of upstate New York.
I'm going to say certified killer because, listen, when you're at Boston College under Steve Adazio, you're running that rock. And when you're running that rock, you know, the guy that gets a lot of credit, obviously, is your running back. But he's got to have a line protecting him. And we talked about it before you came on the air. I had the opportunity to talk about it with Andre. But you got to block for one of the, in my opinion, best backs ever at Boston College and best ACC backs, and that's A.J. Dillon. Bring me into that, because you had A.J. his entire time in Boston College.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool, you know, going back to like a recruiting process, you know, when I started getting recruiting from Boston College, Andre Williams was the back there, and they were running the huge, big, heavy sets at Boston College. No surprise they're running the ball. But, you know, Andre was tearing it up, setting records, and I think he was a runner-up for the Heisman, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And, you know, a year goes by and some things change. And, you know, by the time AJ got there, you know, I'd seen a couple running backs come in. And one of the kids I actually came in with my freshman year was a product of Long Island, I believe. He grew up near Stony Brook. But he was a bigger back, too. And, you know, one of the things you always see is, you know, he's either going to be really fast or, you know, he might be a bigger guy but can't move that well. And, you know, when AJ came in, I remember one of the first runs we had as a team, I was like, you know, obviously he was a huge, huge running back. You know, I was thinking to myself, I was like, God, I hope he can, you know, keep his wind and, you know, keep up with everyone. He was bleeding the pace on everyone. It was like when you saw that, you kind of knew something special about the kid.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And you and I were talking off the air about it. Bring me into when AJ came on to the field, because when he came to Boston College, he was already built. He was already a tree. You know what I mean? He wasn't like a little flower growing. He was already, and you said it best off the air, so I'd love to share that, just kind of how he came in, what he looked like. He was a bigger back, so there was, the thought of, can this guy be agile and whatnot? Like, you described it perfectly, and I'd love to share that with everybody.
Yeah, he, like I said, he came into that first workout, and he proved himself his conditioning, and a lot of kids, including myself, when they go to college, they're not exactly ready to play. They need a couple of years to really, adjust physically, as I'll put it. AJ was just as strong as some of the strongest kids on our team when he came in, and one of the things I think he did need was a little confidence. I think our coaches did a really good job of letting some of our older running backs get a good chunk of the carries early on, and kind of filtering in some plays he felt really comfortable running and building that confidence. Towards the end of the year, he was our main back by 4 or 5 games in as a true freshman, and he was, went on to be rookie offensive player of the year, first team all ACC for the next 3 years, and he just, but he was definitely a physical specimen coming in as, I think he was 17 or 18 years old.
Are you surprised that he made it to the NFL, or did you always have that inkling?
No, he was definitely one of those kids that just kind of stood out. You're a senior in high school, you're a big fish in a small pond, and you come to college, and you're still a big fish, but you're in a much bigger pond. And those guys that continually stand out no matter how big the pond gets, he was always one of those guys. And really no surprise, as he kept playing well, and he kept getting better as games went on, not stagnant. And the things he went on to do, especially during my 5th year, is I always look back to the Pittsburgh game as the last game we needed to qualify for a bowl game. There was like 3 or 4 plays where he carried 2 or 3 defenders 4 or 5 yards to get a first down. It was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and for you, John, I mean, when, as I was talking about before here with John Phillips, a CBA alum and CNY native, and went on to Boston College as an offensive lineman, we see all the accolades go to the running back. You talk about the running back, what the running back has done, and how good the running back looks. You see it this season with very few people talking about Matt Bergeron or Aaron Service or any of the guys on the line at Syracuse. They're talking about Sean Tucker. What do you think about the job? Because we know A.J. Dillon, we know Andre Williams, but we don't talk about John Phillips and the rest of your line enough. It's one of the most thankless jobs in the sport of football and in sports in general. Yet without you, we don't have these incredible opportunities for wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, and quarterbacks. Without you guys, they don't really have relevancy on the stat sheet. So how do you handle the world of, we're responsible for a lot of this, but we don't get talked about for a lot of it?
Yeah, offensive line's kind of like that weird little group in the corner of the classroom. And speaking for the guys I played with, I know we all would rather have not heard our names at all at any point in any conversation.
Okay.
And not hearing our names was usually a good thing. So for a lot of us, we were in our own little world, just the 5 of us, or how many of us played, and that was just kind of how we stuck to it. Any problems that came through, it was handled within us, and any accolades we felt like we needed, we both all kind of chipped in and picked each other up when we needed to. But honestly, we were happier just to hear AJ's name going or something like that, and later on, if something came along, it never really mattered to us.
Yeah, and for you to be a part of this offense and to be a part of this opportunity with Andre Williams and A.J. Dillon, just looking back on that, just what it meant to you to have, being on a running offense, a ground and pound, really just in the trenches, just beat you down, just what it meant to you to have the personnel that you had, and maybe some of your fondest memories. I know you mentioned A.J. pulling a bunch of guys on a few plays when you needed that win, but if there's something else that sticks out, being a part of an offense that that told you exactly who they were. We're gonna run the ball down your throat. We're gonna harass the hell out of you with it, and we're not gonna give up. Just what it was like to be a part of that offense.
I don't know if it was more of a specific moment or one of those you kind of look back on it towards the end, but I came in 2015 and I think we had the number one statistically ranked defense in the country. A lot of those guys are still playing in the NFL today. And our offense was in the bottom 5%. And, fast forward 3 years and AJ hits the scene and, we start becoming a little more prevalent, and then the next year and pretty soon we're running for 400 yards, per game. And everyone knows exactly what's going to happen. You got 8 guys on the line of scrimmage, 3 in the backfield. I wonder what they're going to do. It's kind of a really cool feeling, just giving it away almost and knowing there's nothing they can do to stop it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because we talk about practices that are closed in schools, especially when a coach has been there for years and practice isn't open and you can't see practice and it's smoke and mirrors and ooh, you know what I mean? You guys were like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. You have to beat us. So what would you think? I mean, if a coach had a closed practice, would you think that that's kind of, especially if they've been coaching for a long time, do you think that's kind of crazy coming off of a team in Boston College where Steve Addazio didn't really hide anything? He was like, this is who we are. I mean, did you guys ever close your practices, or did Steve kind of open it up and say, hey, they still got to beat us?
It's funny you say that because, reporters are always there at the end of practice, but I do not remember a lot of non-essential people being there during our practices.
Okay.
That might speak to just who he was as a person in terms of, he was always kind of a, keep it within the team, keep it private kind of guy. But, in terms of, open practices, I don't know if it necessarily hinders or, benefits in one way or another.
So, Steve Addazio, I have a good relationship with him, known him for almost a decade now. What can you say, having played for him? I never played for him. I just know him in my world of broadcasting and connecting with him through the world of sports, something he loves, something I love. Why did you choose to go to Boston College? And what is it about Steve that just spoke to you?
One of the things I think is fleeting in this world is honesty.
Yeah.
And at no point in my 5-year career with him did I not know exactly how he felt about me. Whether it was for the best or for the worst, I knew exactly how he felt about every play, and he wasn't afraid to share that. And that was definitely one of the things I really appreciated about him is there's a lot of head games that go on in football, partly to make you play better. If a coach tells you, you're only playing good, you're going to get content. He always wanted more. He always pushed for more. But he never did anything to try, you always knew exactly where you stood with him. And to that point, the other thing that really drew me towards him, he was very loyal. The guys he had when I was getting recruited were the same people that were there when 5 years later when he ended up getting fired from Boston College. But those were his friends, like his really good friends. Like, when we weren't at practice and you'd be off going to class and you'd see 3 or 4 of them out walking around there's a reservoir near campus at BC, and they'd go out and walk that, and you'd see them just laughing and joking and having a good time. And he always preached this idea of family as a football team. And, when he's out doing that, how can you not believe in something like that?
Yeah. And that's the thing is loyalty. And that's something that he's always been about. I think one of the coolest things is that when he was at Syracuse, speaking of Steve Addazio, he was hired by Paul Pasqualoni, and then all these years later, the apprentice, hires the mentor, and he brings Paul to the BC staff. When you talk about loyalty, what did that mean to you? That Steve went to the coach that gave him a chance, and he gave that coach an opportunity to come there for a couple of years and be a part of it. And, it's really just, it's like it's paying back somebody that means something so much to you. Just what that says about Steve.
Again, I think that just speaks back to the loyalty, but I will say one of the more interesting things to that hire was obviously Coach Pasqualoni is extremely defensive minded. I think he's over in Florida right now as a defensive consultant. But Coach Adazio still was just, eager to learn anything he could from Coach Pasqualoni. He's got, he's going to forget more things about football than you and I will ever care to learn in our entire life. At no point while Coach Pasqualoni was there was he not open to learning something from Coach Adazio was not open to learning something from him. So in terms of everything, I think that speaks to his loyalty and honestly his, desire to be a better coach.
Yeah, and I think that says a lot of it right there. And I have a lot of respect for him, and you're building more as we go. John Phillips here with us this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. John, you played in Central New York. You played for CBA, as I stated before, my alma mater, your alma mater. And it's right down the road from Syracuse. It takes about 3 minutes to get to Manly from CBA. So what is your response to the notion that there is no talent in New York State, there is no talent in Syracuse's backyard, they'd be wasting their time putting anybody on their roster from Central and Upstate New York? As a former Central and Upstate New York student athlete on the football field, how do you respond to people out there saying there's nobody here, there's no talent here, that's why they don't recruit here, because Syracuse knows better and they know that they're just wasting their time?
Obviously, I don't agree with that. And you know exactly how I feel about that. But, am I going to say we're the same as like an Aquinas or, like a LaSalle out in California? No. But are there really talented players here that just need a shot to be developed and, get their chance to play Division I football? Absolutely. It might not be as abundant as in like Florida or something like that, but there's definitely, time after time, there's players coming out of here that make significant, contributions to the teams all over the place. Just out of CBA, we've had 5 or 6 in the last couple of years that have all, started for years for Division I programs.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you look back at CBA, and there's Servassier Dennis, who just won an ACC championship with Pitt. There at linebacker, there's Greg Paulus, who played basketball and then came back to Syracuse under Doug Marrone at quarterback and has one of the best completion percentages in the history of Syracuse. And then outside of that, there's Sire Torrance, who's there now at wide receiver, who had a phenomenal showing in the Dome for a sectional championship and a state championship this year for CBA. And then you have Stevie Scott, who set a true freshman single-season rushing record at Indiana. The list goes on and on and on and on and on just from CBA. When you look at that and you look at that they're down the road, are you surprised that Stevie Scott and Sire Torrance, Sire got an offer, but Dino admitted he didn't go to any local game this year, which I'm guessing includes Sire's games in the Dome. So, are you surprised that Syracuse doesn't at least look at the school that has had success, that's right down the road? If they just looked at CBA, there's a multitude of you guys that have gone and played Division I FBS football. So is that surprising to you?
Surprising, yes and no. Do I think they should be doing, looking at local talent? Absolutely. But this is something that's happened since the time I was there. I didn't feel like I got seriously recruited. My brother had played at Syracuse from 2009 until 2012. And, during my recruiting process, I got letters and stuff like that. I never got phone calls of any kind. And then when I verbally committed to Boston College, every coach that was still there from when my brother played called him up and they're like, well, what's going on? We just thought he was going to go here. And he's like, you didn't recruit him, and so am I surprised that they're not recruiting local talent still? Not really. And that's a really unfortunate thing to say because they're literally you could jog from CBA to Manly Fieldhouse in about 20 minutes if you really wanted to. It's not that far. And, for them to not be able to stop by for a practice for 5 minutes or, literally all it would take is driving down and stopping by for 5 minutes to make an impression.
And that was the thing I was talking about with Andre is even if they didn't like what they see and they don't end up offering you, what would it have meant to you to see Syracuse's staff at a practice or at one of your games?
Syracuse is where I wanted to go for a very long time. I grew up going to the Dome, had the 44 jersey, had season tickets to my brother's 4 years at Syracuse. Went to the Syracuse football camps every summer. I always wanted to go there. It never seemed to work out.
And for you, like you said, you wanted to go there. I spoke with Nick Robinson from Beeville, who ended up going to Syracuse. He was kind of not happy about the fact that they recruited him 2 weeks before signing day, but he said, Dan, in his opinion, he's like 1,000% of the kids that are here in this community, if Syracuse recruited them, we would go there. Is that a fair statement to make that, like you said, you had a 44 jersey, you went to the Dome all the time. If Syracuse had honestly recruited you and offered you, would it have been a done deal? Would they have had to try that hard?
I could never say, for sure. I know I would have absolutely considered them heavily. It's hard to turn down playing in your hometown. It really is. And, especially when things are going pretty well or trending upwards, for the team, I don't know how you at least don't consider it heavily. I don't know if, to be honest with you, I don't know if I ever would have been swayed from Boston College between the two, but I definitely, who's to say I wouldn't have? Because, maybe I wouldn't have had the bitter taste in my mouth from not being recruited from them.
And John, when you have that bitter taste in your mouth, what does that turn into? Because I've had some guys tell me, I can't wait to come back here and beat the heck out of them. Like, there were some kids that were so upset of not being recruited that they were excited that they went to a school where they got to play them every year.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a couple games that always stuck out for me, especially as I got later in my career. Virginia Tech was one of them, but I was always a different person the entire week of Syracuse prep. There was a clock in our locker room that, was a countdown to Syracuse. It wasn't, countdown to the first game or anything like that. It was just literally Syracuse. And, obviously part of that stems from Coach Adazio having, history there. But he, the first year I was there, I came in for that week and I knew I wasn't even going to play. I had redshirted my entire freshman season. I was still extra amped up for it. And the locker room was covered in SU apparel, oranges left and right, cut out oranges all over the locker room, pictures of players from the time there. And just, it was always amped up. And I absolutely wanted to come back here and, demolish Syracuse as much as possible. And, to that note, my junior and senior year, we did. We ran for my fifth year, we ran for, I think, 429 yards.
Yeah.
I can't exactly remember my junior year, but it was, I know it was a good amount as well, but it was definitely highlighted on my calendar and something if we had beaten them, the season in my head was always a little better.
And I think that's the thing that I'm getting at is it's like it almost puts a chip on your shoulder on top of the chip on your shoulder because, the whole New York State doesn't have any football players, blah, blah, blah. And then on top of that, well, the local place that I love, that I grew up watching, they don't want me. So, it brings out the best in you, arguably. But, John, what do we do for the kids now? What do we do for the guys at CBA now, like Sire Torrance? How do we, the Jordan Rays, the Sire Torrances, the James Bells, the guys that want to play, and maybe they play FCS, or maybe they play D2, or maybe they play FBS. Who knows? But what do we do now when the notion is still very much alive to the point where people get abusive about the fact that they're adamant that New York State has no talent?
Speaking from Syracuse's standpoint, I think you have to honestly and openly start recruiting the area. Don't be, half into it, half out of it. Fully commit to it. I'm not saying all of your recruiting issues will be found in Syracuse, New York. We're not going to fill an entire, 100-man roster found out a kid's in upstate New York, but will you find 3, 4, 5 kids you can add to a roster? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, not all of them not all of them will turn out to be, all ACC candidates, but, I say that, but left and right, kids I played with did it. So I think more than anything, they need to fully commit to it. And, one of the things that BC definitely had was, kids that might not have been full scholarship players that grew up around the Boston area that always wanted to play for BC, willingly taking partial scholarships, no scholarships at all, and walking on to be, just work hard on the team. And some of those kids actually became productive members of our team as the year went on. So, you don't have to offer everyone. A lot of these kids will, just growing up around here would be more than willing to come on and walk onto these teams.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think, you can speak to this. If you had played at Syracuse, how do you think the community would have responded, having grown up in Central New York, having gone to CBA? I don't think that your family and friends would be leaving in the third quarter.
I will say maybe not so much my freshman year in 2015, but in 17 and 19, I had a stack of, people I grew up with, people that, neighbors, family members, all in that away corner. And, to think they wouldn't have been there for, majority of the games throughout my career, you recruit local talent, and the people they grew up around will come support them. It'll be more people in the dome. It'll be more sales, however they want to look at it. There's be more support when you bring in local talent.
Yeah, and I think it's the perfect thing to do right now with a team that doesn't have an identity and is kind of reeling and doesn't know where they're going. And you said exactly what I said. I'm not saying fill a roster of 85 players from Central New York. I'm saying when they show themselves, the 1, the 2, the 3, the whatever, to take a chance. When there's a John Phillips or a Stevie Scott or a Savassier Dennis or a Tyler Days or a Tyler Rouse or a Noah Jordan Williams or a Latavius Murray or a Dorsey Levens, to take a shot. Or Mike Washington Jr., who's now in the transfer portal from Buffalo, FYI. But, it's something like that. To look at that. Or my guy right now, my dude, Daniel Santiago, who is playing at Utica Proctor, who left and went to Arizona because Utica Proctor was not going to play during Corona. He goes down to Arizona, just won a state title. He's got offers from all over the country, and he's got awesome offers. He's got the Army offers, the Navy offers. He's got offers from San Diego State. He's got really strong, unique offers all over the country from different places. He's got Ivy League. He has, the military-based. He has the Mountain West. And he has an offer from Arizona inside the Pac-12. And here he is from Central New York. And then you got a guy like DJ Haynes, who I'm going to be talking to, who left Central New York to go and get looked at and thought that he'd have. And that's the thing, too, is players are leaving because of the stigma. So, to me, it's just, it kind of breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. And I think the thing is, John, as you know, as a student athlete who was interviewed by the media, is that people changing your words around is like a normal thing now. It's like a crossword puzzle that everybody's trying to figure out. And it's almost like Mad Libs. And so I think we need to be clear, is what you and I are saying is, don't take 85 players from Central New York, but you could afford to take the ones that Pitt, Indiana, Rutgers, UConn, BC, Buffalo, Colorado State. You could probably, Arizona, you could probably afford to take the ones that they're taking.
Absolutely. It's like you said, it's not going to be 85 kids, but, they're continually 5, 6, 7 of us keep popping up, and it's at least taking a look for, especially when, teams within your own conference are recruiting them. How can you not recruit someone other people in your conference are interested in? It confuses me all the time. I don't really have an answer for it. It just makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, and it's the 5-hour radius. You recruit your community 5 hours out. You should not be losing your kids to anybody. And that's the reality of the fact. And I think Steve, he did it. Steve did it. I looked at your roster. It was Massachusetts all day, Then there was some New Hampshire, some New York, some Pennsylvania, some New Jersey. There's like one kid from California, maybe one or two kids from Florida. There was some guy from like Germany, but the majority of it was the Northeast. And
Absolutely. He was huge on that. And, he used to go back to his time at Syracuse, and when he first recruited me, he used to say that their whole thing was dominate your local area. And he used to one of the CBA coaches, actually, his son was recruited by Steve Adazio. He played center for the Orange for I think 5 years, and he was again an all Big East candidate. I don't believe he went on to have a pro career, but he coaches at UConn now. And that was one of Coach Adazio's guys, and he was highly recruited. He probably could have went anywhere, but he went to Syracuse.
Yeah. So I mean, it is. I think it would behoove, like we said, not to take 85, but to give a shot where. I mean, look at Mackie McPherson, for goodness sakes. They said he was too short. He couldn't play. He's from CBA too. What did he do? In 3 of his 4 seasons, there was a 1,000-yard back at Syracuse. So, and he's playing center, and he was one of the players that they could rely on to stay healthy and be there all the time. He wasn't just productive, he was healthy. And so, there's so much to be said about what we've seen come through. Riley Dixon playing in the NFL as a punter. I mean, it's there in front of us. And John, I wanted to have you on the show today because you're one of the guys that went up against the stigma, didn't care what the stigma said, busted your butt, worked your tail off, played at BC, went to a ton of bowl games, were super successful, blocked in front of a back that's now in the NFL playing for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, you and 2 guys that made it. So, I mean, you to me are a true testament that anybody from anywhere can do it if they believe in themselves. And you are one of the guys that I'm so proud to say Central New York can hang their hat on and say, hey, if you don't believe in us, then what about John Phillips? So I just want you to know, as you already do, that I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. And I'm just so grateful to know that somebody took a chance on you. I wish Syracuse did. I'm happy that Steve did. And it's ironic to me that former Syracuse coaches coach in other places, and they give more opportunities to Syracuse players than the Syracuse coaches that are in Syracuse. But that's just the way the life has been. And I commend Steve for giving you a chance. I'm grateful for that. I'm happy about that. And, you showed out, and you definitely put the work in to be who you are. So, thank you for being you, and thank you for shutting out the outside noise. And by definition, it belongs outside. So I'm happy you didn't listen to it, and I'm happy you went after your dreams, and I'm happy you succeeded.
Thank you for that. And I think one of the things that really stems into that too is, as kids start to pop up around CNY that are, as more kids get recognized, for what they're doing, it increases the odds for other people.
Yeah.
A great receiver having a great season opens up the door for, he's got to get the ball somehow. Okay, now his quarterback's pretty good. Now he's getting looks and other things. And that was definitely one of the things I had going for me was, J.R. Zazzara and Deshaun Salter, and, CNY was really kind of, in my opinion, chock full of athletes at the time that were getting a lot of attention. And that was definitely one of the things that, went to my benefit. Because I know Deshaun was getting recruited by Boston College, and, that's how they saw me, on his tape. And so I'm hopeful now as more kids are getting more serious looks from colleges, more and more CNY athletes, upstate athletes, they're going to find their chance to go play somewhere.
Yeah, and that's the hope, is that, they get the opportunity. And John, again, I'm happy for you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to connect with you. You're one of the guys that I wanted to talk to, and I was so excited when I finally got the opportunity to do it, and I'm always excited to have you back here on the show. So hopefully you and I get to have some real FaceTime sometime soon. And in the meantime, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and God bless, and definitely would love to catch up with you again very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me back here, Dan. It's always a great time.
Offensive linemen matter. That's all I'm going to say. That's Putting it out there for you. All right, brother.
We always appreciate it.
Well, listen, have a good day, and I'll talk with you soon.
You too, Dad. Thank you.
Take care. So with that being said, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, we're going to take a final step aside for a fast break. We'll be back right after this inside the Cafe Kubal studios to wrap up today's edition of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Christmas week. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be, from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecabal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Enwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-pay non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Head out there every Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. for their drive-through pickup window. Grab your food and go, as well as their general store with local products from local companies, including spices as well as clothing, jewelry, children's toys, soaps, and different lotions, as well as syrups and honey. Just a lot of fantastic products right here in our central and upstate New York community, available in the general store at the Millhouse Market. And of course, their indoor dining with a bistro menu that changes every weekend, and their menu that they have all throughout the week, which you can get on the Millhouse Market app by going to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store and downloading the Millhouse Market app to have everything at your fingertips, including those fantastic desserts that they have. And oh my gosh, there's so many of them. So make sure you get out there to the Millhouse Market today. Perfect for your Christmas and holiday gift giving needs on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Worth the drive every single time. With that being said, I want to thank my trio of guests on today's broadcast inside of the Cafe Cabal Studios. Big shout out to Corey Cooper, former Syracuse wide receiver, who talked about the fact that the transfer portal could have changed his entire collegiate career back in the day, because coaches can't stop you from going to any school you want to go to, and back then they could. So he spoke with us about the transfer portal, as well as being at North Carolina now as an offensive recruiting analyst and his desire to be a general manager someday. And we went into my conversation with Andre Fontenette, another wide receiver at Syracuse, who has now gone on to coach all throughout college football and find his way to Rochester, New York with McQuaid Jesuit, and speaking with us about the importance of local recruiting and that there is good local talent in the state of New York, as well as our conversation with one of those strong local talented players from Central New York and CBA. John Phillips, who went on to play at Boston College and block for Andre Williams, as well as A.J. Dillon, two of the incredible backs in Boston College history. And a big shout out to John Phillips from CBA. So, a lot of great stuff with a lot of great people to start off today's broadcast, to start off this Christmas week of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Plenty of great stuff coming up for the rest of the week. Can't wait to bring it to you. And in the meantime, I want to say thank you to everybody that watched and listened live here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, 208 North Townsend Street, all in Syracuse. Inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, corner Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse at Sweetheart Corners with their drive-through location. Thank you for watching and listening on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldT, facebook.com/live-now-DT, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.com every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, YouTube, MixLR, iHeartRadio, and Podbean, where you can get all of our shows in the archive. Bunch of stuff's been added, plenty more to come, by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any one of these platforms, including Wake Up Call DT. So you can search it either way, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Honda City of Liverpool, Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Progressive Dental, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Lemoyne, Millhouse Market, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, PB&J's Lunchbox, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the proud multimedia marketing partner of the Lemoyne Dolphins. Find our stories from Lemoyne College coming to you every Wednesday during Dolphin time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You can set that every week to Wake Up Call, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You'll find the Lemoyne Dolphins. First and third Wednesday, AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Retta joining me, DT, for plenty of different topics that we have about Lemoyne College and the community. And every second and fourth Wednesday, the Dolphin Dive, where we dive into stories of student athletes, coaches, and staff members on why they chose Lemoyne, what Lemoyne means to them, and so much more, including having some fun with Rapid Fire. This week's going to be awesome with Ellie Summers joining us for Christmas week. Very excited about that. Find all of our broadcasts by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and clicking subscribe. You can also find it on the Lemoyne tab of wakeupcalldt.com. And, of course, you can always find more information on Lemoyne by going to LemoyneDolphins.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Marywood Pacers. Marywood University in Scranton, Pennsylvania, about 2 hours from Syracuse, New York. Almost a straight shot, almost a straight line from Syracuse to Scranton in 2 hours. I believe it's like 2 hours and 1 minute. So make sure you make your way over to Marywood University, a fantastic school with fantastic opportunities, and they are here with us with our Pacer Pride exclusive specials every single Friday throughout each month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Unprecedented coverage of Marywood University here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And, of course, you can find our stories with Marywood University by subscribing to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and by going to the wakeupcalldt.com website and clicking on the Marywood tab and subscribing to that and bookmarking that as well. You'll find our stories rounding out the weeks on Fridays with Marywood University, and you can find out more information by going to marywoodpacers.com. In the meantime, find us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, the Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. I appreciate y'all and I love you all. The Myrtle Beach Bowl is on, and you know that Papa Joe and I have chosen every single of one of the 43 bowl games we've given a winner to all the way through, and we did it for the Myrtle Beach Bowl between Old Dominion and Tulsa, and I'm excited to see this game. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Bowl season is back after taking a day off. And the only game on today is at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN for today, December 20th, featuring Tulsa and Old Dominion as they face off against each other. Two 6-6 teams trying to figure out who's going to end the season above 500. With that being said, have a great day. God bless. No stress. do your best. Keep the outside noise outside, leave your past in the past, and be good. God bless you. Have a great day. Be well. And many thanks to all of our fantastic people, including John Phillips, Andre Fontenette, and Corey Cooper for joining us today.